the Yankees have the grandest plans for this season, and that was really about how good their pitching was going to be. And it's been hit at. It's not going to include Lagrange. I think you have to have some real doubts it's going to include Weathers now.
It's a drive, a dirty dozen. Jazz Chisholm goes deep.
Hello, welcome to the Pinstripe Post. My name is Ryan Sampson, but he's the star of the show, Joel Sherman. Today is Monday, August 24th. Joel, since the last time we spoke, the New York Yankees have won 2 series against the Orioles and Blue Jays, both division rivals who are trying to get into that wild card spot. We got some more injury news. Unfortunately, Giancarlo Stanton suffered another setback. We'll discuss that and what it means for him and his Yankees career. We're also going to talk about Ryan Weathers landing on the IL with a left forearm strain and how this really impacts the rotation going forward. But before we get to any of that, as always, on a Monday morning, Joel Sherman, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm good. I'm up here at MLB Network. Got a show to do in a little bit, but another interesting weekend of baseball. And yeah, the American League is terrible. And the Yankees beat. But by the way, I think the 5 best teams in the American League are all in the AL East, and the Yankees just beat 2 of them. I think that the Orioles or the Blue Jays would win the Central or the West. As we're speaking, the West just had their 3rd firing of a head of baseball operations. Dana Brown is out there following Perry Manazian with the Angels and David Force with the A's. So that's 3 out of 5 there. They have no winning teams, but they have 3 guys fired for not having winning teams in that division. So yeah, it's a interesting time in the American League. Just 4 teams over 500, and one of them is the Yankees, obviously.
Yeah, no doubt. And look, Joel, I do want to get into that discussion later on about just, I know that I shouldn't say we, but collectively we have talked a lot about the downfalls and what the heck's going on with the hitting and the offense and the Yankees shortstop position this year. But in all actuality, they are one of the best teams in the American League. They have one of the best rosters. I think we agree. And I think they have a chance to make a serious run, but the injuries continue to pile up. And I do want to start there. Let's start with the Ryan Weathers of it all, because I think that's going to have a bigger impact in terms of the near term right now with the Yankees. Weathers was pitching phenomenally, I think to like a 3.6 ERA. He had a great run here the last couple of months. He seemed to figure it out with Matt Blake and Aaron Boone, changing his style, I think, a little bit. And at the same time, it's a tough blow for a guy who we had talked about all year long. It seems like he's going to be going to the bullpen, Ryan, most likely, because of the game of musical chairs. When you get to the postseason, you really only need 3 starters for the first 2 rounds of the postseason. But it feels like this was that injury you talked about last week of they can't have another one of those, Ryan. And Weathers unfortunately lands on the IL. So Joel, how do they handle this going forward? He's supposed to be down 2 to 4 weeks before throwing, so that's a big gap. 2 weeks is what, September 10th, around Labor Day, around there, maybe that week after Labor Day. 4 weeks, you're looking at what, 1 week, 2 weeks left in the season. So how do they handle the Ryan Weathers of it all?
Well, I think big picture wise, they don't put him in harm's way. He'll either be good enough to come back to pitch in some hybrid bullpen situation, and they'll try to do some pitching chaos with a guy like him and Clark Schmidt, uh, perhaps giving them some bullpen innings. But look, just the big picture of it all is you can't make plans about pitching and you never have enough pitching. The big picture plan, say 2 months ago, was that at some point Carlos Lagrange and Ryan Weathers were going to be power lefties and power righties pitching out of the Yankee bullpen. Lagrange hurt his shoulder and almost certainly isn't going to pitch again this year. This just happened to Weathers, and just the good news is the Yankees are, I think, if not leading the majors, right up there in like team ERA. They are really good at run prevention. They've been, good at pitching, but it has been a small kind of unit that's done it. They haven't really used like the depth of a bullpen, and so they've heavily used guys. And it put them into the red on a lot of guys, including Ryan Weathers, who has never pitched this much in a season before. And that's just the danger point for them when they didn't add at the trade deadline an arm or two. Now I do want to be cautious about that. If you go look at most of the pitching that was acquired, like I think if on the day of the trade deadline the Yankees had acquired, you know, Huascar Brazaban, people would have went, "Oh, good, they deepened their bullpen." He's been terrible for the White Sox. Like this is, Brooks Raley has blown a couple of games for the Phillies. Luke Weaver had a blow up for the Pirates against the Red Sox. The reality is you don't want to acquire the Elliot Ramos of relief pitchers just to say that you acquired one and then you wouldn't be using them in the postseason. Part of the Yankees' problem this year, Ryan, I think is you could track to last year, which is they gave up a lot of prospect collateral for Jake Bird and Camilo Doval, and neither guy pitched well. And so now they had less, uh, uh, you know, they didn't have an answer with Duvall or Bird, who were under their control, and they ended up trading at the deadline. Plus, they didn't have the prospects
Right.
uh, to go ahead and find the next version of that or another pitcher. And they are a team that has been, I know that there's always a lot of hitting at Hal Steinbrenner, like, oh, they don't go for it. Like one of the ways they show, I mean, prospects are worth a lot of money because you're not paying them a lot. There's future value there. And they've traded a lot of it over the last 4 or 5 years to try to go for it. And that left them with just less to trade at this deadline. Having said that, I still think they needed to find a way to an arm or two that
Yeah.
they like just to give them some greater depth because they to me they're just in harm's way now. I think that what they did this week against the Orioles and Blue Jays pretty much assures they make the playoff now. I mean, they would have to like finish like 8-22 or something like that, I think, to put themselves in harm's way. And so I think that they know they're going to get in, but they still want to, at minimum, be the number one wild card. And the Rays are not that far, ahead of them, and the Rays are playing probably as bad as they've played all year recently. So they want to try to catch it because whoever wins the AL East is going to be the number one seed in the league, which is a first round bye and home field advantage throughout the AL playoffs. So, they want to go for it. And I do think they're in some danger zone with their pitching. They have a doubleheader coming up this week against Boston, I believe, which is going to challenge their pitching even more even with the off day today. They're going to have to expose themselves to some like, Brendan Beck innings or bring back up Elmer Rodriguez. They're going to be challenged here for pitching in the short term, and it has been the strength of the team. So the loss of Weathers is significant. The best that could happen to, as I see it from 20,000 feet, is he comes back with a week or two left and gets enough work out of the bullpen where the Yankees feel comfortable putting him in the bullpen, which, by the way, is 30 years after his father was in the bullpen and helped the Yankees win the World Series in '96.
Funny how it works like that, right, Joel?
And by the way, he was acquired from the Marlins too. It was the first trade ever made between the Marlins and the Yankees was for his dad.
I guess the real question there would be like, did you ever think you'd be covering his son 30 years later? Being
Jeez,
quiet.
I've done a lot of it. Lance McCullers Sr. was on that the first team I ever covered, and I've covered Junior. A lot of big Astro Yankee games. Yeah, so I'm old enough. When I was at UPI, I covered Ken Griffey Sr. also. I covered Clay Bellinger, and I've got Cody. So yeah, I'm getting old. When I get to grandchildren, it's going to be really really bad. Look, I at UPI I covered games that Bob Boone played in.
Wow.
So, and that's Aaron's dad. So yeah.
It's
So
it's a funny the full circle moment. And what I take away from what you're saying is the 1 to 2 weeks, right, at the end of the year, if they can get him back and put him into the bullpen. First off, you have highlighted on the show earlier this year about how difficult it is when we were talking about Legrand of converting a starter into a bullpen piece. That's going to be a challenge in itself for Weathers to now go from a starter who was pitching the most innings he's ever pitched in his career, right? Like he was trying to go the full season as a starter. Unfortunately, he gets the injury, and that's been a part of his career early on. But how does that like? How do the Yankees have confidence in that, Joel, that they can
Well, they can't,
yeah,
right? The confidence is he's done a little relief pitching along the way, and that, but you're going to ask a guy as late as you possibly can to go into the bullpen and max out after an arm injury. Now, the other thing though to keep in mind is baseball history is filled with lots of guys like Madison Bumgarner and all of those Nationals pitchers in 2019 who were starters who went into the bullpen with very, like just because that's what you do at this time of year. You play tournament baseball, and whatever you need, you do. I do think that the Yankees will probably feel Schlittler, Cole, and they hope Freed, if you want to talk about him also,
yeah,
I'm happy to talk about him. Like, we'll start games and that Rodon will start it. And that, perhaps for the Rodon start in particular, like if they've got to be in a scramble each time, again, I will go back 30 years ago when David Weathers' father helped with, Ryan Weathers' father, David, helped with this. If you go look, the Yankees had three trustworthy starters in 96. The fourth was Kenny Rogers. Kenny Rogers pitched terribly in each round of the playoffs, and the Yankees won all three of his games. Like, I don't think he got out of the third inning in any of them. And they won all of them because their bullpen was deep and talented, including David Weathers. And they won a game in each round that Kenny Rogers started, and he pitched terribly in each round. So, I know it could be done, especially if you limit it to one starter who really has to, do that for you. And we'll see. But that means that Cole, off of Tommy John surgery, has to stay healthy the rest of the way. I mean, Schlittler, who's already beyond whatever he's done innings wise, is going to have to stay healthy. By the way, this is into and through October, not
right.
just to September. It means Max Fried, who has had this elbow issue crop up now twice this season, has to stay healthy. It means David Bednar, who's a heavily used closer, has to stay healthy. It means Hedrick and Blackburn, who have never been full season relievers and are among the most heavily used, along with Cruz, relievers in the sport, have to say. I mean, this was what I was highlighting last week, is that unit of 8 or 9 has been exceptional,
Yeah.
but it is heavily used, and there is a lot of red lines on all of them where you would have concerns. Now, I'm sure I could do this for almost every contender. Pitching is a hazardous job, but the Yankees have the grandest plans for this season, and that was really about how good their pitching was going to be. And it's been hit at. It's not going to include Lagrange. I think you have to have some real doubts it's going to include Weathers now.
Wow, that's saying something, Joel, and that stinks because he again has been awesome this year, and I think
And and was giving them length
yeah,
when they needed to protect their bullpen, and he pitched well against some really good offenses during this period also. So it wasn't like, oh, he's just stacking it up against like bad teams. I thought he had done a little bit. The guy I compared him to, if it was going to work out well, perhaps, was Nathan Eovaldi.
yeah,
Like, the Yankees had made a trade with Miami maybe like 10, 12 years ago. And Eovaldi when he was not with the Yankees, before he got to the Yankees, was an off injured guy. But everyone was like, man, he's so talented. What if you could keep him healthy? And the Yankees, the first year, kept him healthy. I think he won 18 games for the Yankees that first year. And he was really durable. He was a great teammate. And then he needed Tommy John, I think, in his second year with the Yankees. So hopefully that isn't going to happen for Ryan Weathers in his career. That this is something that's gotten over. But you do see when you have a big step up in innings, it is hard to make it through the season.
and they're high stressful innings too. Like again, to what you've talked about, like they're always in 1 run games. Ryan Weathers had all season long no run support from the Yankees offense. He was pitching a lot of games where they were down. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I throw a bizarre thing that I noticed in the last like day or two is just it's I think offense in the American League stinks. In particular, do you know the 5 highest scoring teams and 9 of the top 11 are National League teams for runs per game?
Doesn't
So
shock me.
2022, we went to the universal DH. It used to be all AL teams led in runs per game, right? Because it made all sense. They had an extra hitter in the lineup instead of a pitcher. And now the top five average scoring teams per game and nine of the top 11. And, the Yankees are kind of like about 17th or so. Like they're right. They're averaging about the major league average. But a lot of that dates to earlier in the year when Judge was playing and they did some scoring. Um, it's a little off the. I think their at bats have been a little better for about the last week, even as they've still struggled in a lot of these runner on third, one out, no out situations to get a run in. The at bats have been a little better. Bellinger just got back, and I think you can see Judge starting to appear on the horizon as he increases his workload. You want me to give a guess on Judge?
Yeah, please.
So again, I know how crap gets aggregated. I have nobody has told me a day. Nobody has told me a day, but I've been around the team, and sometimes when you're around a team a lot, just how people talk, you could start to get like, oh, he's doing this, he's feeling this, and whatever. So they play the Mets September 11th to 13th, I believe. It's not an unimportant weekend for a variety of reasons, including the 25th
Yeah.
anniversary of 9/11. The Yankees and Mets are playing that Friday. Uh, if I had to set an over under, I would set it the day before against Colorado, September 10th,
I
and say like like DH September 10th against Colorado. And by the way, again, I know how this crap goes. It's a total kind of gut from talking to people as opposed to somebody saying, "Hey, Joel, you should make September 10th the over under." Uh, but I feel like Aaron Judge, if he can be on the field for that 9/11 game, will try to be on the field for that 9/11 game. Again, if he can't be, he can't be, but I think he's trending in the right way, uh, especially the last week. And someplace on that Rockies Mets homestand feels like about right. And by the way, that would, considering everything where we keep saying the Yankees keep saying he's going to be back this year. And I keep saying to them, well, there's a big difference if he's back in game 161 or game 141.
right.
Like, where he has 20 games to kind of like get it right. Because, we talk about the pitching, Ryan, but they need Aaron Judge and Aaron Judge in full, especially watching this offense, especially what's happened in the first inning with this offense where they simply can't get a run across in the first inning. And he's worth something as both a producer and a fear factor in the first inning that they desperately need. Uh, I think someplace on that homestand is in play.
That would be huge for them, obviously, like you said. And it would make sense considering where he's at. Like you've mentioned, he's doing more. He's hitting off a tee, from what we understand. That next video or news I'm waiting for is Aaron Boone saying he's taking live BP. Because that again would just mean that he's getting closer and closer to that return date. If that's
I'll tell you one is I'd like to hear he's working off of the trajects,
yes,
which would mean he's dealing with high velocity
yeah,
and not just batting practice. Because to me, that's how players in 2026 in a different age we'd be talking about hitting on the field in
sure,
batting practice, but that's still against a guy throwing 60 miles an hour, an old coach throwing 60 miles an hour, or going on a rehab assignment. To me, trajects means I'm getting ready for the major leagues. I'm getting really close where I could put a velocity machine at 95 plus and start hitting off of it regularly. So that's the one I'm curious about. And look, I think it's a rare injury for a baseball player he had, and he's a big guy with obviously incredible strength and torque in everything he does. So, until he's back, he's not back. But I would say the last week of news, since the Yankees give so little news about Aaron Judge injuries, the fact that they've given some positive updates in the last week, I would think is pretty encouraging.
absolutely, Joel. Yankees fans are obviously excited, waiting to hear when Aaron Judge is going to be back. The trajectory machine is insane. I've seen some videos on YouTube now. There's like these content creators that put like 100-mile-per-hour knuckleballs and they're trying to hit all. It's insane. You could do any pitch, any form, spin rate, whatever you want. It's as close as possible to actually facing the real thing. Because it's really cool how that machine works. But
that's what I want to hear.
Yeah.
Ryan.
Yeah.
Like if I hear he's working off of that machine, to me, in the old days, we would hear a different thing. In 2026, I think if you're working off of that machine, it means you are as close as you could be to getting into a game.
So I think,
especially if you stack up days, like
Right.
he's done it back-to-back days, 3 times in 4 days, something like that.
I always think back to when Joel Sherman tells me, Ryan, this stuff always works itself out. There was this thought, Joel, of with Stanton coming back, obviously with Bellinger first, then Stanton, who was supposed to be, then it was going to be Judge, that there was going to be this logjam of DHs with Ben Rice and Luis Garcia. Well, we get the news of Giancarlo Stanton re-injured, or I should say had a setback and injured his other calf, compared to the one that he had injured 2 times in a row that he was originally nursing and rehabbing from. Before we get to the Stanton part, with Judge, are the Yankees now okay with accelerating a little bit more and he might not return to the field right away, where it's like, hey, you could be the DH for the next couple of weeks before you're ready to go into the field? But I don't know. You know the player more than anyone else, Aaron Judge. Like, it feels like he's going to be.
I don't need the player. I literally asked Aaron Boone this question on Saturday. I was alone with him and got some time, and I just said, Aaron, when he comes back, is he the DH or the right fielder? And he says the plan is for him to be a full player. So, and I think that's very important for the Yankees. If he's able to come back now, will they work in some DH with him? I would think so, and I think he'll be the priority, and everyone else sits. You know, like if Rice has to sit, I mean, Aaron Judge is the priority. But you know what it means. If you get Aaron Judge back in full, you get a all-around terrific, great baseball player, and that includes the right field of it. And you know, it's a righty bat; they badly need it.
Yep.
Look, they just need him. There's a presence that he brings that I think helps the whole lineup.
Oh yeah.
Kind of like, you know, calm down. The heavyweight is back. If you just do your job, everything will be fine. And I think so. I think from talking to Boone, I think the plan is for him to be the right fielder most of the time when he comes back. But if he's got a DH, he's going to have priority over everybody else. His bat is going to be the priority bat. And, you know, right field and first base, like it could be a log jam, but Aaron Judge is going to play every day. If he can play every day, he's going to play every day.
Yeah, he's that type of player.
He's going to hit every day.
Yeah, he's that type of player too. He wants to be in there every day. I'm sure he wants to play right field every day.
There's a long way from here to there. Let's see what happens in that. That's why I always say it's look, I do this with my children on real important decisions, which is make the decision when you have to make the decision. Don't make the decision today if you've really got 2 weeks to do it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of baseball that will be played in the next 2 weeks. And the luckiest thing that will happen to Aaron Boone and the Yankees is if he has to make tough decisions every day on a lineup that has been disappointing for the last 2 months.
No doubt, Joel. No doubt. With that, Giancarlo Stanton now, his season's in peril. Boone was pretty straightforward about how there's, you know, maybe at the end of the season, I don't know if it's like a Kyle Schwarber or World Series type thing, Joel, if Stanton were to make a comeback this year, but really a tough go of it. And what stinks is because I think you have said so many times, again, on this show, and we thank all the fans, obviously, who are watching Pinstripe Post. Joel has always come on here and said, I appreciate Giancarlo Stanton, the human, the player. He always answers the questions that you guys ask him. He wants to be out there with his teammates. He desperately wants to be out there, but his body is just not allowing him to be on the field, Joel. Help me sort this out, right? Because there's multiple questions here about
Ryan. I'm glad you're asking about this because I I think we've done this show long enough. I tried very, very hard to stay away. Like, I generally don't read my email. I generally don't look at mentions on social media. I think that it's a nasty cesspool. I think I have a thicker spine than most, but why tempt it? Because I feel like most of it is mean, spirited, or purposely distorted, and an attempt to just get your goat. And I'd rather not play that game. Like, if you got to play that game, this is what you want to do, then do it. It was brought to my attention. I don't want to say the colleague's name because I don't know if he'll want me to do it. It was brought to my attention by a colleague. He said, "Do you see how Stanton is getting killed on social media?" And I go, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "Like, people like good riddance, get rid of him, what a dog." And I'm like, so I made the mistake and I gave myself 10 minutes of looking at it. And I'm like, now I know why I don't look at this stuff. I mean, look, I understand there's a bunch of miserable pricks in the world, and they're just going to be miserable pricks, and you can't do anything about it. But does the average Yankee fan think that Giancarlo Stanton actually doesn't want to play Major League Baseball? Let's just take it from a selfish personal reason. He wants to get to 500 homers. That gives him his best chance to make the Hall of Fame. If you think he's a candidate or not, his candidacy improves with 500 homers. Part of his candidacy already is that he's been an exceptional postseason hitter. So if he were able to add to that, that also would help his legacy. And I'm here to tell you that he burns to want to win a championship for himself and for the others. He wants to do it here. He is become kind of the wise man of their clubhouse. He has brought great leadership as far as maturity to the other players. And that's obviously a lot easier done when you're playing than when you're not playing. And so when people do the good riddance and stuff like that, it's like, look, I don't expect people to have sympathy for somebody making $25 million a year and living the professional baseball life, but like I to kind of stomp on a grave there. I mean, there's a not 0% chance that he can't play Major League Baseball anymore. He simply can't get his body healthy
Yeah.
to sustain anything. And I assume he wants to continue to do it. Um, it would be no different than a singer who loses his voice.
It's it's
uh,
it's
uh,
it's
uh,
literally a ditch digger
it's like
losing his
I just
arm.
don't understand.
It's your
And and I even saw stuff like, "Oh, good, they could. Why don't they just cut him now?" It's like, what? Do you really care as a fan if he's sitting on the injured list? It's not your money. You know what I mean? It's like he's not taking anybody's space. Even on the 40 man, he's not on the 40 man. He's a 60-day IL. It's not like he's keeping somebody else from playing. Like, why is everybody so freaking
Can I
miserable?
can I answer that,
Uh,
Joel?
and,
To why I think
yeah.
they are, and I think it has to do with, again, stuff that we shouldn't be talking about today's episode, but it's the Hal Steinbrenner of it all and how he operates, and we've talked about this. He has one of the top 5 payrolls in baseball. It's every single year. They operate at the top of the margin always in baseball, but people feel like,
He
and I
spent
think
$300 million.
I
It's
know,
still the
but
record
the
to
fan
trade for a player.
But
Like,
the fans will always tie back the Giancarlo Stanton acquisition to the year they didn't go after Bryce Harper when he was a free agent that following offseason. And the money spent on Giancarlo Stanton, the Yankees fans feel like that is stopped them from going out there and acquiring. And I'm just giving you, again, the perspective of those negative
so
Yankees
let's
fans.
say that's true.
Yeah.
Let's say that's true. Let's say it's true. Let's say Hal Steinbrenner is a cheap whatever because he's only spending $350 million plus tax on this team, whatever that is. Uh, and okay, I'm not going to go through the whole litany
No.
again.
Yeah.
What does that have to do with what does that have to do with belittling Giancarlo Stanton?
Because he's making
Stanton was
so
a
much
traded
money,
for
and
player,
he doesn't
but
get on the field as much as he's getting paid.
but that's a but then you again you he doesn't get on the field, but then you would have to believe he's jaking it. Like, in other words, like, there's not getting on the field. I believe that there's probably players who are comfortable on the IL.
Right.
I mean, I do think there's guys who don't mind being there. I just don't think Stanton is one of those guys.
Yeah. No.
And so like he wants to play Major League Baseball. and he wants to do it for the Yankees, and he wants to do it in October. And when he's had the chance, he's been great in October. And I understand like general fan frustration. Hey, you want him to be there, or you've created this myth in your head that Hal Steinbrenner isn't spending whatever it is. Like, I get it, but what does that have to do with attacking another human being who physically is breaking down? He was running to try to heal, to play baseball, and his body is, I think I used this term. They used to say about the banks that had to be saved by the government that they were too big to fail. I think he's too big to succeed. I just think that Judge is almost a freak that at his size he can mainly stay healthy, doing everything he does at his size and strength. I just think that Giancarlo Stanton can't stay healthy.
It's
And that's just a reality. And I just think attacking the guy, and again, it isn't like Stanton has like my buddy, like I talk to him a few times a year in a clubhouse or something like that. It's not every day, and he's never given me a story. Like it's not my guy. I think he's a serious baseball player. I think he's a leader of this team, and I think he wants to play baseball and his body's broken. And to attack him seems crazy to me.
that
And of the time and mean, and like mean for what? Like purpose, but I guess this is just the age we live in.
it's the age we live in. It's the social media short-sightedness. Always got to be it's on the attack and take your shots when you can because you have that voice. I don't know why it's used for that purpose, but it is for most of the time, and it's sad to see. But I think what's more sad to see
It's
again.
really sad. Again, I don't do it a lot, Ryan. I
Yeah,
went
no, I
and
know.
looked at some of this stuff. I was encouraged on Saturday by a colleague of ours to look at it. And I looked at it, and I wish I hadn't looked at it. We wouldn't have had these 10 minutes here, but it's a reason why I don't look at it.
Right,
And
and
by the way, it wasn't even directed at me.
no, no, no,
It's
no.
directed at somebody I have a professional relationship with.
Yeah, and it's someone that again, the Yankees can say what they want. I think they were counting on him to make a return, to be a part of their postseason plans. So, talk to me, Joel, with the player and the reality of the situation that he is going to miss another amount of significant time because it took him so long to just rehab from the first calf strain that he had, and now it's the other calf. Is it possible for him to return this year if they make a World Series run, or I don't know? Like, what are the thoughts for the Yankees as an organization for how they're going to handle the rest of Giancarlo Stanton's tenure here, because he is under contract for 2 more years technically with the terms. There's a club option there, but how does this all work out?
Yeah, I think his chances of returning this year are pretty close to zero. Because I think even if you push it to late October, I would assume one of the reasons the Yankees get, if they got to late October, is they're hitting enough, and to disrupt that, to bring him back, when he's a guy, like he very well to walk on the field, he's probably a guy who's going to need at bats to kind of become a threat again. And it's just going to be hard to be like, oh, we're going to deal with an 0 for 12 with 10 strikeouts in October to get him for what? So I think he returns onto the horizon for next year, and you build anticipating that he will not be a factor. And I think they're already there, right? Because between Ben Rice and Garcia, they have a first baseman and a DH against most pitching, right? Against most pitching being right-handed. And I think I think that there's some chance that if they're actually whole and Stanton is healthy, but like not looking great, that he does they eat the final. They're good at eating the final year of a contract. They've done this before, right? With Aaron Hicks and LeMahieu. This is the reality of big market teams in general. They know they sign contracts. They lower the annual value of the contracts by stretching them out over time and knowing that the back ends are going to be problems. Every big team is eating money in some form, and I assume that it will be very difficult to get to even the finish line, which is next year on this contract. Because it's sad. Because again, I like covering this player, and I think he's generally been a very good major league player. But it's hard to plan around Stanton.
It
You can't
yeah.
just. Brian Cashman got killed a couple of years ago when he said injuries are part of his deal. And people were like, whatever. And all he did was say Tuesday follows Monday. He said something obvious.
It's again, I think the key word there, sad, like you said, because I can't forget that 2024 postseason run that he went on, and he just absolutely demolished everyone. That even the Dodgers, he was such a big threat in that lineup. And
So when I say it's sad. So like here's something is I'm a baseball fan. I don't root for a team, whatever. When you said Yankee fans are looking forward to Aaron Judge coming back, baseball fans should look forward to Aaron Judge coming back. Like I'd like all the players to be as healthy as possible. Like nobody wants to go to Broadway and see the understudies. I want to go to the ballpark and I want to see all the best players healthy and performing as at their peak and making this great. Like there's no I get it. If you're a Yankee fan or a Met fan or a Dodger fan, maybe you're hoping, oh, I hope the good guy on the other team gets hurt. But like, if you're just a fan of the sport, like, man, I want to see Aaron Judge hit. That's fun to do.
yeah, it's a spectacle also whenever Aaron Judge is
Yeah.
in the box. And like you said, it's going to be a warm welcome for the Yankees lineup if they can get him back fully like the player he wants to be. And it would be a huge threat, and it would boost their chances here in the postseason. Like Joel said, the Yankees are one of the best teams in the American League, and we kind of have to spin this positive, right? I before we get to the things that I really want to talk about with what we've seen the past couple games, the Max Fried of it all, we have to talk about this too, Joel. Boone kind of hinted at this maybe being a minimal IL stint. I'm not going to say it was a phantom IL stint because a player is going to be honest about an injury as always. And I don't think the Yankees are in that business of doing those type of things. But it kind of works out, but it doesn't at the same time with the Weathers injury. If they get Fried back, this starting rotation should be the best in the American League, right?
Yeah. Look, I would like to believe uh, there are technical things that have to happen for a player to get on an injured list, and one of those is includes a doctor has to sign off that the player actually has the injury you say he has. So, uh, you'd like to believe some of the chicanery is down. On the other hand, I said that I wrote this in the post, that this felt like a Los Angeles Dodger injury, in that there's something there, but you're making the playoffs and you're playing big picture and can fill in the blank on the Dodgers over the last 3 or 4 years, pitch through this or come back sooner. Yeah, but we want to make sure he's pitching great on October 1st, right? Like if you've noticed, like Blake Snell came back recently. Tyler Glass now is starting on Tuesday. Shohei Ohtani is starting on the weekend. Their rotation is getting whole just as September 1st comes around. So were there injuries? I bet you each of those guys were injured, but why rush it or push it when you're expecting all of those guys to make 3 to 5 more starts in October? And I think the Yankees probably and Fried probably felt like, hey, it's still in there. I could get through it, but it's affecting my pick the pitch, curveball, slide, whatever. Uh, can we calm it down and then I can make a run of like 8, 9 starts from there to the finish line, hopefully including, you know, look, if they're whole, if they were fully whole with Weathers, you could say you could slot Fried in at 3 or 4 in a rotation and use them once a series
Right.
or, that kind of thing. So he's probably going to need to be used more than that now. But this felt like the kind of there's something there. If the season were ending on September 30th, fine, just pitch through it. But for the Yankees, they're hoping it ends a lot closer to October 30th. And that's a lot of games from now to then. And I think they wanted him as good as possible. Conversely, this is now the same elbow injuries cropped up twice. So, like you just wouldn't bet a lot of money that it doesn't crop up again, and it doesn't end the season at some point prematurely. This is an attempt for that not to happen in October.
It makes sense what you're saying, Joel, the whole Dodgers part of it too. And I wonder with Fried, this is also
But by the way, that's happened on the. Can I just say this is this happened on the front end also? Like Garrett Cole could have come back earlier
yeah.
than he did, but they weren't expecting, like they didn't want to be like he's back May 15th and then he's not available October 15th. And so they slowed it and made sure. Could they have rushed Rodon? Could they have rushed Clark Schmidt a little? I think that this is all baked into taking care of the player and trying to see that there are a few teams that are blessed with the knowledge that they're really good and have a very strong chance to play in October. And you have to figure out how do you play in October well. And I think the Yankees are one of those teams.
And the other thing I'll say too is the Yankees have been forcing their starters into so many high stressful innings. For Fried to have to go through another 2 weeks, instead you back him off a little bit, let him calm down the elbow. You're not putting those high stress innings on him in regular season games where they're going to make the playoffs. That's just that is where the Yankees are. They have the best wild card position right now. They're closing in on the Rays a little bit, who have taken a step back the last couple of weeks. So we'll see how it goes down the stretch. And if he can make his return in the next 2 weeks back to the rotation, the Yankees should start seeing hopefully that playoff rotation of Schlittler, Fried, Cole, Schlittler, Cole, Fried, however you want to mix and match those 1, 2, 3. Joel, let's talk about some positives here about this Yankees team the last couple days. I got to start with Spencer Jones, though. Spencer Jones continues to impress me in the at-bat quality that he provides to this lineup. I know Lombard, we've talked about what he provides there at the bottom of the lineup, but Spencer Jones, I think, had easily the best series of his career over the weekend against the Blue Jays. He had a big home run against the Orioles last week, and the kid just continues to go out there, whether it's like, hey, man, you might lose your spot when Aaron Judge comes back, but the kid continues to prove, Joel, that it doesn't seem too big for him right now. What are you seeing from Spencer Jones?
Yeah, well, Ryan, we've done a lot of shows, and I think for at least the last 3 or 4 shows, the at-bats are good even when they end in strikeouts. This isn't a guy who strikes out on 3 pitches. This is a guy who strikes out 3 and 2 and fouls off 2 pitches. And so to me, the strikeout quality is good. It was like when Ben Rice's strikeout quality was good 2 years ago, or when Austin Wells' strikeout quality was good. You know, you're getting to 3 and 2, and a guy's making a great pitch, but you force him to throw 6, 7, 8 pitches. It is a minor victory within a loss. It's a, battle war thing. And it was not, these were not meek strikeouts. He, to me, has done what you would hope a young player does, which is he gets a taste of the majors, and if he's not quite up to it, he goes down and learns something and starts working on his holes. And that happened twice to Jones. And to me, since he's come back in late July, you could argue he's been their best hitter. He's had the most impact. He's had the best at bats. By the way, to add to that, he brings real great athleticism. He steals bases. He moves around the outfield. He's to me right now, an average outfielder, but he moves around the outfield well. He has a great arm. There's a lot to work with, and I think there's a couple of comparisons. To me, he is what the Yankees hoped Joey Gallo was going to be. Right? Like you might live with some low batting average and strikeouts, but you'd get homers, you get on base percentage because of walks, you'd get stolen bases, and you'd get high end defense because of the athleticism. Gallo didn't work here, and this is a reminder why a good farm system matters, because somebody like Spencer Jones spends a couple of years in spring training around the major league team and seeing how they deal with reporters and seeing how they deal with crisis and mixing in. And so like that transition's a little easier than say Joey Gallo's was. So there's that. I think there is, and you hate to do this, it's Aaron Judge. He's one of the like 25 to 50 greatest hitters ever. But Judge in 2016 came up and struck out 45% of the time in his cameo. That offseason, went to the lab, found a swing that worked, and came back and nearly won the MVP and did win Rookie of the Year and became Aaron Judge. Is there a potential for Spencer Jones to be 80% of that? 75. It's an interesting lump of clay, right? Like
Yeah.
there's great athleticism when the ball hits his bat. I mean, it really he doesn't hit like meek singles or doubles. He really rockets the ball. He doesn't give at bats away against lefty pitching. Uh, I think he's a really interesting, exciting young player with a chance. Again, the league is going to adapt to the adapt. Uh, there is an obvious space up and especially in hard that he swings and misses a lot. But it feels like even that space is a little smaller and he got a little better at laying off of some of it, not all of it, some of it. So he's learning and he does real damage. And since he came back, his strikeout percentage is more in the range of like Murakami and Schwarber, which is like 31, 32%, which is high. But it's different than 38% or 40%. And it's really different if there's going to be a lot of extra base hits, including homers and walks.
Yeah.
And in his case, stolen bases and defense. And so he's bringing something to the party. He's a really interesting young player with a chance that he might be a 40 homer player one day because the ball comes off of his bat special. And you like this is the kind of thing, no matter what city played in, you would say, like, man, I'd like to see some more of that just to see does he keep growing? Because the growth this year has been real growth. And it's impressive.
It really is. And I think everything you've highlighted there are things that this Yankees lineup desperately needs. Especially with the athleticism, especially with getting on base and stealing, making steals when he can. Defense, obviously, but the other thing is when you talk about him and George Lombard, both of them provide those long ABs that this Yankees lineup has just not been great at this year. But maybe it's getting better. Like I wonder if we're starting to see some signs, Joel, of them being a little bit more, I guess, attentive in the box and more and decisive in the decisions on what they're going to swing and when they're going to swing. Because while I'm discouraged that they still can't get a runner in from third, there's still some signs that, hey, Jazz laid down a bunt. Spencer Jones put together a quality at bat. Trent Grisham walks in a run. Like, there are some signs maybe this lineup is starting to turn right before the return of the big bat and Aaron Judge. Do you see that happening right now?
So it's an interesting thing you bring up, and it again brings to mind, because I'm old, something from the Yankees were a very, 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 add as many varies as you like want, bad offensive team in the early 90s. And I think I told a story where Stick Michael started to talk about the idea of guys having grinder at bats. And I thought that it was, and then in a move that was really more probably George Steinbrenner pushing than anybody else in the organization wanting, they brought Wade Boggs in after the 92 season. And even though it was an older version of Boggs, Wade Boggs simply would not swing at a ball if it wasn't a strike. It was incredible to watch. I'm so glad I cover baseball in New York for a variety of reasons. Particularly the Yankees do this. You will see a lot of great players come through, even if it's at the end of their career. The Sheffields, the Ichiros, the Randy Johnsons. They were older. They weren't the full version of who they were. And Boggs was like that. And I thought Boggs' influence on the lineup, which already was starting to trend towards grinder at bats, really, I thought he had incredible, where like, wow, Wade Boggs, who has, I mean, you don't look at Wade Boggs and go, there goes an incredible athlete, there goes, but his hand-eye coordination and understanding of the strike zone sent them to Cooperstown, right? And so they, it did it. And I do think that Jones and Lombard are having some impact on the lineup. I thought, like I said earlier in the show, I thought the at-bats have been better now for about a week or so. And I think that they have something to do with that. Now, I will say this is I'm shocked by the Lombard mistakes in the field. I thought that was going to be his carrying tool. and he's blowing easy stuff, which I thought was going to be his calling card, which was just going to be, yeah, I can make the 5 or 10% tougher play also, but anything hit to me is going to be an out. And I don't know what's happened here for like the last 4 or 5 days, almost like he's gone through a fielding slump. Because even on some of the ones that aren't errors, he's getting some bobbles and uncomfortable plays, and they can't live with that. You can't. The Yankees need their shortstop to play well defensively first. The offense is a bonus from Lombard. It's okay for him to hit ninth as long as he fields the hell out of shortstop. But yes, the at-bats have been good, and Jeterian, right? Again, you don't want to compare it. Derek Jeter's one of the 5 greatest shortstops ever, but like lots of balls to right field, lots of using the whole field to get hits, using his legs to get hits. So yeah, I think that they've helped the lineup. And I think with Grisham, when Grisham walks, Grisham also hits. And in about the last 10 days, he started walking a lot more again. And there's been some, really timely hits. I think Austin Wells' at bats have been longer and better in general for a while now. And look, if they could get Bellinger back to being Bellinger and Judge at some point, it makes the lineup longer and tougher. Obviously, Helio Ramos has been a real dud for them since they acquired him. So getting him out of the lineup regularly and maybe like seeing if you could salvage him by feeding him a lot of lefty pitching to see if you could get him going.
Which the Yankees
'Cause
haven't
he's not,
faced a lot lately. They have not faced many
they
lefty
haven't
starters.
faced a
Yeah,
lot lately. But I mean, he's just been a bad baseball player. He's a
no
bad
doubt.
fielder also.
Yeah.
He hits into a ton of, he hits the ball on the ground a lot. So there's a lot of double plays that are rally killers with him at the plate. It hasn't worked out. I mean, look, let's be frank. Buster Posey hasn't done a lot right in charge of the Giants front office. Making 2 trades with the
I knew
Yankees
you were going to
for
go there.
Duvall and Ramos has been 2 of them
Yeah.
that have gone right. So yeah, it's something you notice. But I think with Bellinger back, Ramos will play a lot less. And if Judge gets back, I'm not sure when he plays.
Joel, this was a fun episode, man. I appreciate you taking me through all of it. It was a lot with the injuries and how this team is going to be shaped up going forward. But like you said, there's more baseball to be played in the next couple of weeks. And we always appreciate you hopping on here, giving us your analysis. For all you Yankees fans, we're obviously watching Pinstripe Post. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on the New York Post Sports YouTube channel. Follow Joel on social media. He's not going to read your comments and your tags on him. But make sure you follow him for his analysis, though, because Joel's always
It's okay to write something nice though and break the momentum that everything has to be so mean-spirited. But yes, but certainly we appreciate everybody who takes their time to watch this, and I know we'll be doing it right through the playoffs and towards whatever is a lockout this offseason. So we appreciate it, and thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, Joel. We appreciate you. We'll catch up with you next week.